course, I'm delighted to be in Ogun State because Ogun State happens to be my own state, so it's a joy to be here. But the basic point is agriculture is the largest employer of labor in this country, 70% of all employment and 44% of GDP. But that's where the problem is that we cannot even use fiscal policies to tax those that are in agriculture, which tells you that majority of those in agriculture are very poor. And so what we've decided to do then is to take agriculture out of the development realm and to put it into an investment realm, in which case agriculture is being treated by this government as a business, not a development activity. And because of that, you can unlock a lot of opportunities, be it in the seed sector, the fertilizer sector, the processing, the storage, the food manufacturing, the export, transport, all of that, it's a sector. So Nigeria has a huge potential for agriculture. We are the largest amount of water mass right now. We have 84 million hectares of land, of which only about 10% is optimally utilized. So what we've decided to do is to work in a different way with states. First and foremost is to work with them to have their own agricultural investment framework for each of their commodities that they want to produce. Second is that in the way the federal government is working, we have a big federal government, so I'm decentralizing the entire federal ministry of agriculture down to the states so we can be closer to the states, closer to the farmers, and closer to the private sector.
What impact would that make though? Why is that important?
That would make a huge amount of impact because we have potential, but you cannot eat it. And it's by working very closely with the governors that we can unlock that potential. But you can't do that sitting down in the head office in Abuja. Secondly, is that the private sector needs to go into particular areas where we have high food production. For example, take the case of Kano State. In Kano State, we produce a lot of tomato. And that tomato, about 60% of it rots away every day because there is no processing facility. Yet Nigeria is the largest importer of tomato paste from China and from Italy. So we are working together with the state government and the private sector to establish a tomato processing plant that would process the paste from that. Take a look at rice. This government's number one goal is to make Nigeria self-sufficient in rice in 4 years. And to do that, we are importing 100 large-scale integrated rice mills. Those will be located in areas of high production all across the country. But you see, you have to work closely with the state governments in that and the private sector in those states because you need roads, you need to have electricity, and you need water. So it's a public-private partnership arrangement to drive growth in agriculture.
Okay, you just mentioned the issue of processing. You're alluding to Kaduna State in particular. But you've also mentioned today in your presentation a plan to start staple crop processing zones. Talk to us a bit more about that.
Well, a staple crop processing zone works this way. You have an area, for example, that is a large producer of rice. Take the case of Abakaliki area, right? Now, if you take Abakaliki area, right, in Ebonyi State, they produce roughly about 200-something thousand metric tons of rice. Now, they need to have integrated rice mills that will have destoners, that can polish the rice, that can produce high quality grade rice that is competitive with the imported rice. And so a staple crop processing zone for rice in that area is we will help to establish a number of rice mills with private sector there. First class rice mill, they will buy paddy from the farmers in that particular cluster.
In terms of investments, where does the government come in there?
The role of government is to provide two things. First is to provide access, to help facilitate access to low interest rate, long-term concessionary financing. And that we have done. I just came back from China, where we've been able to arrange that kind of financing to be able to pay for all of this for the private sector. The role of government, in particular the state government, is to provide the land, is to provide access roads, and to make sure there's irrigation. So that is how we are working together in the states.
Okay, final point, you did allude to this. With the cocoa, you mentioned, similar to OPEC, that there might be a need to set up cocoa exporters group, similar to the oil production exporting countries group that we have with OPEC. Where are we in that discussion right now, and why is it important?
Why it's important is this: for every bar of chocolate that you buy, right, in Heathrow Airport, if it costs probably about £1.50, Nigeria is not getting more than 6 cents of that. Okay, so it tells you that Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Cameroon are the largest producer of cocoa. We are on the price receiving end. We don't influence the market price. And so it's those that manufacture chocolates that make most of the money. But if you look at it, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Indonesia and Cameroon account for 85% of the global production of cocoa. So what we are saying is this: we want to have a greater share of that market price for cocoa. And in addition, we want to also process and add value to what we produce instead of just exporting raw beans. So the idea of this cocoa producer exporting countries is to be able to influence the market structure, conduct, and performance in a way that benefits us, not just the chocolate manufacturers.